Hey everybody, I'm Kim.
Hey, I'm Steven.
This is Thompson's Reading. This is episode number 2 of our booktube series. So welcome in, welcome in. Thank you so much for everybody who checked out our last video and for everyone who subscribed to this channel. We really do appreciate it. I hope that you can find something that you like. If you do, please like, subscribe, and share. So today we're gonna just get started. I wanted to let you know that I also have a separate channel. I am Kim the Crafty Nomad, and I do have a channel where I share all of my crochet, and you can see that I have a couple of little props trying to give us a decent background. So anyway, we're gonna get started with talking about our reading for since the last time you saw us.
So, what have you been reading lately, Kim?
I've been reading a lot. So I will share one book. I think this is my 5-star read for the month. This is Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verghese. You guys see that? Uh, Such a wonderful book. This book, I realize I'm trying to figure out what I really like. And so I've been reading a whole lot of different things, different genres, and I'm realizing that I'm leaning more toward literary fiction, to be honest. So, this writer, he's amazing. This one, we already talked about the fact that I have read The Covenant of Water, and so I went back and I read this one. This was written before, and it's really good. It is The writer himself is of Indian descent, but he was born and raised in Ethiopia, and so most of this book takes place in Ethiopia as well as in America. Little bit of references to India, but for the most part, the book takes place in um in Ethiopia. And I mean, this book catches you right away. I don't know if I shared it on here. I think maybe I might have, but when you read the epilogue, it grabs you within the first 2 paragraphs. So I love books like that. But I think what I really like about this is I like a long, epic, sweeping novel. I'm just realizing that. And I'm just kind of honing my taste. And this writer, he is so lyrical in the way that he writes, and I really, really enjoy that. So this is the first book I wanted to share about today. What have you been reading?
Did you get to tell them that you saw him in person?
Oh, we talked about that on the last video, but
Oh, okay.
yes, we did.
Got it, got it. So,
Hmm.
you want me to talk about all my books or just one at a time? How you want me
You
to
can
do
do
that?
like 2 or 3 at a time because I only got four. So
Okay,
you
we could
can
do
do.
that. Okay, so for me, I get impressed because Kim finishes her books, and I said, I read a lot of books. Like, I go to the library, I go to the bookstore, and books just kind of, I'm drawn to them, and then I get them. I even feel comfortable just being around books. And there's something about buying a book that makes me feel comfortable. But I decided I needed to organize myself and finish some of the books that I read. So I divided these up into categories. So I have my spiritual reading, and then I have books that I'm reading for my novel, and then I have books that I'm reading for my personal leadership, and then I have books that I'm reading for fun. So let me start off first for my spiritual reading. I talked about this maybe last time, 3 Mile an Hour God. It's really a great book, spiritual book. I read it very slow because it's really talking about slowing down in our modern world. So I do my spiritual reading first thing in the morning. So I just want to share 2 books and then I'll swing it back to Kim. So I'm writing my 3rd novel. And one of the things I like to do when I write is to read novels by authors in a similar genre that I'm writing in because I can see how it is executed on the page. So I'm writing sort of a vampire love story. So I am reading Octavia Butler, Mind of My Mind. And Kim and I went to a bookstore yesterday. I just picked this up. I just started reading it. Octavia Butler is a genius. She writes science fiction. She's an African American woman author. Her books are phenomenally researched. They're very deep. They have a lot of science fiction in them, and then a lot of commentary, especially racial commentary, commentary on the world. This is about a immortal who breeds special races of humans for his own pleasure and hopes to take over the world. And he breeded a telepath who is actually growing stronger than he is. So picked that up yesterday. Kim will tell you about our bookstore trip, and that was one of the books that I picked up. Now, also for my novel, I had to go back, have to read old school Bram Stoker's Dracula, a classic. If I'm writing a vampire story, I've got to read, immerse myself in vampire literature. So I love our library. I got this last week. Walked to the library on Saturday mornings, brings me back to my childhood because I always used to go to the library. Every time we've moved or gone to a new city, I just love the library. I would go to the library, check out books, get a library card, and I just love wandering the stacks. So that's what I'm working on right now. And then I'll come back and show you the rest of my books that I'm doing for my novel and my leadership and what I'm reading for fun, because I do read for fun as well.
All right, so look at how far he's gotten so far in this book. He's doing pretty good. So I think this one will get finished. Anyway, he was telling me about Octavia Butler. He's read a few. Steve has read a few, and I'm gonna give her a shot. It's usually not my type of genre, but that's okay because I can experience all kinds of things. So I'm looking forward to it. Maybe not this one, but I will read something. Now, speaking of the bookstore trip, so what we decided to do is that for this year, we found a list of independent bookstores. In the Los Angeles area where we live, and we are going to go and visit as many of them as we can. And so yesterday was the first time that we went to the first one. We've had quite a bit go on in the first part of this year, so we didn't get to it, but we decided to do this even before we decided to do booktube. We had already decided, because we love bookstores, we love books, that we would visit a lot of independent bookstores because, honestly, we want to keep them open. We want independent bookstores to last. And so it's so exciting to see when people do. So the one we went to is called, what was it called?
Reparations Club.
Reparations Club. It is Black owned, it is woman owned, and it's super exciting for us to go there. It's a cute little place. And so, right in here, right now, we're going to cut away and you will be able to see some footage. And we'll come back later and show you, in addition to the Octavia Butler book, we did get some other books and we'll share that with you. But right here, right now, we're going to go ahead and let you see what it was like to be in this bookstore. And we hope that as we go out to these different bookstores, we will share some footage with you every time we do it. So we're hoping that we can go, what do we say, once a month?
Once a month.
Yeah. So anyway, check out this footage and then we'll be right back to continue our talk about the books that we've read. Okay?
Perfect. And if you're in California and Los Angeles, you have any favorite bookstores, let us know and we'll go visit them.
Okay. So watch the footage and we'll be right back. Okay, so now we're back, guys. We are back. Hope you enjoyed that footage. We really like the store. We will definitely go. I've been talking about it ever since we went there. We're going to find their Instagram. We will tag them, so you guys can, if you're not in the area, you can at least experience them online. So I am going to talk about my next book that I finished. Did I bring all the books that I finished? Yes, I finished 3 books. So this is basically my May wrap up. Now I know today is only, I don't know what's today, the 18th, 19th, something like
19th.
that. It's the 19th. We still got some time, and I will likely um, finish another book. But I want to talk about this one. It's called Kim Jiyoung, born in 1982. This is a novella, and this is translated from Korean, and it says it was an international bestseller, a social treatise, as well as a work of art. The author is Cho Nam-Joo, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was a novella, and it was easy for me to finish, but it really is a social commentary on basically the plight of women in Korea. And apparently, there's a movement that wasn't necessarily sparked by this book, but there's a movement called the 4B movement in Korea, where women are just rejecting the traditional roles. And so the main character here was born in 1982. So she comes of age right when things start to change for women, and yet they haven't fully changed. And so she is a woman who ends up giving up her career so she could take care of her child, and she has all kind of conflict about that. She wants to be a mom, but she actually was enjoying being a working person. And that struggle between wanting to be a mom but also having this desire to be something in addition to being a mom. And yet at the time she was born, she was that first generation of people that started to reject this traditional role. So it was really good. What I really liked about this book, there's so many facts that the author shares about what was going on in Korea at the time. There's footnotes up the wazoo so you can learn. So I really love reading things where I can actually learn some things. So this was finished in a day. It was really good. It was worth the read. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's it.
Wow. See, Kim can finish books, but I'm trying my best this time to finish books. So that's what I'm going for. So, for my novel, speaking of finishing books, Neil Gaiman is a phenomenal author. Some of his books have been turned into TV shows. There's one, The Sandman, which is on Netflix, and then there was another one on HBO. But this is called The Graveyard, and it the Graveyard Book, and it is a supernatural story. I'm reading it for my novel. And it's really a fascinating story. At the beginning of the story, this family is murdered. Everybody in the family is murdered. They must have been into something. We'll find out what later in the book. The last person that the hitman was going to kill was the toddler, like a 2 year old.
Mm,
But the 2 year old stumbled out of bed and stumbled into a graveyard, and the ghosts in the graveyard decide to raise this little boy.
wow.
So right now in the book, the little boy is 5 years old and he's being raised by ghosts. And for one example, they taught him how to do the alphabet. And he meets a little girl who comes to play with him, and the mother and father of the little girl thinks that she has an imaginary friend, but it's actually a real little boy who lives in the graveyard being raised by ghosts.
Wow.
So that is what I'm reading
Wow.
for my book, Neil Gaiman, The Graveyard Book.
That's interesting.
Yes. And another book that I'm reading is Lakota Woman. Now, my main character of my story is Kedawin, female lead, and she's Native American. So I wanted to immerse myself in Native American literature so that I could write her really consistent with what a Native American woman would experience. So thus why I'm reading Lakota Woman.
Very cool. Very interesting. Years ago, I read in my book club, we read a biography of the very first female chief of the Cherokee Nation. It was really, really good. So Wow, and this is apparently a Native American woman, Mary Crow Dog. Ooh, okay, I love it. All right, very cool. So, my next book that I'm going to share, this is a very popular book on BookTube and Book Talk. It is written by Kennedy Ryan, and it is called Before I Let Go. This is a very compelling story, and um, it's a love story. But the interesting part of this is that this book is about a couple who, when we open the book, when we start the book, they are divorced. They have gone through a ton of trauma, and all of that contributed and conspired to just really. They lost themselves, they lost each other. And the book, this is a second chance, what they call it, a second chance love trope, where yeah, that they're going to get an opportunity to possibly be back together again. And I think what's compelling about this, when you open this book up, the very first couple of pages, there are trigger warnings. And I would say, if you're going to read this book, definitely read the trigger warnings, because for me, I definitely am glad that I knew what was coming, because there's a lot of things that I can relate to, which is why I think this was such a compelling story. um the real struggles of life and how those things impact a relationship, how they can impact a marriage, and depending on the choices that you made. One of the things that I remember from this book that I really liked was, there's a line where the main female character, her name is Yasmin, her ex-husband's name is Josiah, and there's a point where Jasmine is seeing her therapist, trying to pull herself together after experiencing some incredible trauma. um and one of the things that the therapist tells her, when she's like trying to figure out why did she sort of make some of the decisions that she did, the therapist says depression is a liar. And when I
Mm.
remember that, because I think that's so true. Depression is a liar. And so you probably shouldn't be making major life decisions while you're in that moment, but you don't know that. You don't know that. In a lot of ways, that's how, people are trying to cope when they don't know how to cope. And so that's why I say it's a very compelling story, well written and relatable. The only thing that I will tell you that I did not like about this book is there is a ton of spice. Now, of course, the spice is not gratuitous. I just think it's a lot, and sort of the way it's written. It may be that I'm just too old, and this might be the way that young people,
Hmm.
talk about their physical relationships. For me, it was just a little bit much, and so even though Before I Let Go is they call it a duality or a duology, there's already a second book out where she pulls one of the other characters out of this book and makes a whole nother story about that character. I probably won't read it, just because I don't need the spice like that. And so, but I think Kennedy Ryan is amazing. She's a great writer. I'm just not for, you know, you know, you could anyway. I think I'm just old. I think that's what it is. And I keep hitting the mic. I'm sorry. So that is my third book of the month. That is the three books that I have finished for the month of May. I am hoping to finish one more, but if I do, we'll talk about that the next time we get together. Your turn.
All right, so my last three books. So I'm going to go into my leadership. I didn't do the thing today. Now, this is really, really nice for me because I'm very busy. I'm a director, program director for a nonprofit. I'm also doing my doctoral dissertation. And then at the same time, I like to do booktube and write novels. So this is a way to prioritize your projects so you have time to rest and spend time with your family and not be all consumed with work. And that's why I enjoy reading that book. So that's for my personal leadership. Last two are fluff. So what I enjoy, Kim asked me, don't you read anything for fluff? Now, this may not seem fluffy, but this is called The High Desert, and it's really interesting. I picked it up at the library. It's a memoir. but it's a memoir that's done in graphic novel format.
Mm.
And it hits close to home because it is written by the author is biracial. He grows up in California in the high desert, and he is one of the few African American students in this high school. And he's surrounded by a lot of students that he's friends with, but they're also very racist. And I can really relate to that because I grew up where, there were people who were racist. They didn't really see themselves as racist, but they exhibited racist behavior. And that kind of hit home when I'm reading this book. So, and he also is African American, but he's into the punk rock scene. I listened to a lot of heavy metal when I was in high school, so I can relate to it from that standpoint. So, it's a memoir. It's a little intense, but I put it in my fluff category. Now, what's truly fluff is this. This is called Invitation to a Banquet. I graduated with a history degree in college. This is a history of Chinese food. That's all it is. The author went to China to become a chef. And then she wrote about her experiences, and then along the way began to investigate the history of Chinese food and where it came from. So it is really light. I'm not using it for my novel. I'm not using it for my spiritual life. I can't relate to it in terms of my own personal life. It is just fluffy reading. So, Invitation to a Banquet. Now, this being my only second booktube, I wasn't really sure how to deal with audiobooks, but on my commute to work, I've been listening to Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which was a movie, but actually the book is really, really good, listening to the audiobook. And it is very deep, where the way the author's written it, you begin to believe that Abraham Lincoln could possibly have been a vampire hunter because he mixes in actual historical facts and then goes off into the vampire parts of it. So you begin to believe that maybe this is true. Maybe Abraham Lincoln was actually hunting vampires. I know the movie is just a Hollywood makeup, but the book is very, very deep. So I've been listening to it because I couldn't find the movie streaming and I didn't want to rent it. So I went into the Libby app. I have Libby and Hoopla for the library for audiobooks when I commute, and they had it. And I said, let me listen to it. And just went into it, and that's what I've been doing on my commute, is listening to Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. So that's what I'm reading. Hopefully next booktube I will have finished something. That's my goal. One of these books I'm going to finish, talk about finishing the book.
All right, so hold on one second because I do have a audio book. I forgot about it, so I want to go and get my phone so I can tell you what it is, and I also want us to be able to show you the other books that we got when we went to Reparations Club. So hold on one second, be right back. So hopefully you guys really enjoyed seeing the bookstore. Now we just want to show you the books that we did pick up. Steve already showed you one. You want to show them the next one?
Sure. I got this book called Make Your Own History. Again, like I'm a history major, and I do a podcast called The Stephen Thompson Experience. And every episode I feature music, and I also feature a historical figure you may not know of. And this has a lot of historical figures. So I want to use this book for my podcast, and also always love bookmarks. Whenever bookstores have bookmarks, so here it is, Rep Club, and then you can see on the back, Black owned, woman owned, along with a QR code. I never seem to find enough bookmarks, and you end up like tearing off paper, folding the page.
Yeah.
So it's good to get bookmarks from bookstores.
Yeah, so the books that I got this one book called Arsenic and Adobo. It is by Mia Manansala, and it is a part of a series. It's a Tita Rosie's Kitchen Mystery. So this is going to be a fun little read. And I liked at Reparations Club, what I liked was that they had a great selection of books by authors of color, and things that you likely are not going to find in a Barnes and Noble. So that's what's so nice about going to these independent bookstores, because the booksellers are choosing the books. Now they definitely had all the TikTok books. They definitely had, you'll see some of that, the book talk books. and the booktube books that are really really popular. You will see that you would have seen that already in the footage that I've shown. But it's nice to see some of these other things and just to support them. So I found this one, and then I found this other one, another author of color. This one is called Anna K, A Love Story. And this is by Jenny Lee. And this is a YA, and I already started reading it, but it looks like I didn't even put my bookmark in here. But I started reading this one today. And the reason why I wanted to read this one and I wanted to read the Kim Jiyoung, born in 1982, is this, because this is Asian American Pacific Islander Month. And so I definitely wanted to read some books about Asian Americans written by, not Asian Americans, but by Asians and written about Asians. And so I had another book that I don't think I'm going to end up finishing. And so I won't talk about that one. But this one I think is going to be a great read. And this one has a sequel. So if I really, really like this one, I will read the next one. So yeah, I think that's everything that we kind of wanted to share today. I don't know if I thought that was, oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to tell you about my audiobook. But you know what? Maybe I will save that one. But I'll tell you that it was called The Maid's Diary. And what it is I figured out that on Kindle Unlimited, there are books on there that you can also listen to. I don't know why I'm late to the party, but I'm so excited that I can listen to these books. And this one was a very good, very well written mystery and a thriller, and very, very good. Highly recommend. I'll tell you more about it, but I definitely finished it. I was crocheting and I was listening, and that's sometimes what I like to do with my books. So I like doing audiobooks and actual physical book. So I think that's it. I
I
think that's
think that's it.
everything. All
Yep.
right, guys, we're going to see you in the next video in a couple of weeks. Hope you enjoyed it. Please comment down below what you're currently reading. If you have some recommendations for us, please put those down below. Let us know what kind of cool independent bookstores you have in your neck of the woods. We would love to hear about that, because when we travel we also plan to check out bookstores. Steve already does that. Every time we go home to Chicago, he will go to a bookstore. So we'll definitely be looking for different ones. Anyway, I think that's it. That's all. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye
Bye.
bye.